Yeah. Hi, everyone. Today is July the 7th, 2025. I'm not sure what day I'll post this, but the day I'm making it is July the 7th, Monday. And it's been quite a while since I've posted anything on the free platforms out there. And I just thought it was time to share an idea with people that I thought was rather useful on various fronts. So I'm going to share that with you today on what I think faith is really meant to represent. It's been interesting that in my old days, my old life, when I was still a comedian, my main focus of my day was, in a sense, making people laugh, making them feel good, making them finding a way to give them a break almost from their daily suffering. Now it's now it's kind of the opposite. My main focus in life is to disappoint people, to reveal something about reality that maybe they don't want to know or be revealed, and that tends to be a disappointment, right? To disillusion someone is usually never a fun thing. Perhaps down the road it turns out to be, but it's just different now when I look at how my life is after all this time. Um, yeah, so um, I'm in the process of starting a new writing project. I don't know how long it's going to take me. Maybe a year, maybe longer, but I'm literally just beginning that process. And it's another reason to feel like it's time to come out and say something to everybody today. And so, faith. It's a word that gets used in just about every spiritual tradition, one way or another. And it usually tends to mean the same thing. But when you look at certain unique texts, for example, in St. John of the Cross, he has a three-tiered system of work. The second tier of that system is faith. And for him, moving into complete faith is a type of moving into what he calls the dark. Or he's often translated as saying his work is talking about the dark night of the soul. But the original word in Spanish is obscura. So that word can mean dark or it can mean obscure. It can be the obscure night of the soul. And so faith is actually not moving you into darkness. It's moving into an obscure period. Obscure meaning for your regular mind that we'll get to. Another important place you find the word faith is in the name of one of my favorite texts, small Asian text known as the Sin Sin Min, translated as the Faith Mind Sutra. And the question becomes, well, what is faith mind? Because it's not faith slash period mind period sutra, right? It's faith mind sutra, in a sense, equivalent of one word, faith mind. So it's indicating it's not about having faith, it's having a faith mind. So normally when one looks at faith in general terms, they turn it into a religious idea or they make it very similar to prayer, where an idea is, or a wish, standard prayer is a wish that is being sent externally to some external deity, some being, some focus, with the idea that that being, if it likes you enough, will grant you your wish, will grant you your prayer. So it becomes not only do you have to pray to the right thing, you've got to, in a sense, give enough whatevers in order to get that thing to give you something back. That's how it's kind of basis of normal thinking of faith. The secondary one is that this idea of there's some sort of destiny or some sort of being who's looking after my world and that they are going to constantly be trying to guide me. This wonderful, caring being is trying to move me left instead of right because it wants me to have some sort of wonderful, fantastic life or experience or something joyous that it is attempting to get me towards, but it's not doing it on its own. It's forcing me to make these unknown decisions. And this is labeled as faith. This idea that this deity or this being or this force external to me is watching out for me 24 hours a day, trying to maneuver my decision making into what it wants. Really, what faith as it's normally presented is an abdicating of your own decision facility to the wind and saying, well, something else is looking after me and I have to trust that it's right. Another word that gets thrown around when you work into faith is the word surrender. And that's also a valid word when you're dealing with this. But the question becomes, well, what are you surrendering to? It's one thing to surrender, but do you know what you're surrendering to? Most don't. So it takes us back a step to try to understand, well, what are they talking about? Because the way faith is normally presented, right? That this outside being cares about you, but yet is giving you this horrible life, this horrible existence, this massive amount of pain or suffering, just hoping that you'll get to the point where when you come to the certain door, you'll turn left instead of turn right and your wonderful destiny will open. Well, why didn't you just send the door up when I was like 1 year old and forget all this garbage, forget all this pain and suffering? What something like John of the Cross is talking about, or what something like the Faith Mind Sutra is talking about, is faith. Real faith is not towards anything external to the self. And I'm not even referring to the thing you see in the mirror, right? This thing here. You're not trusting this thing, this mind, this memories, these experiences, anything to do with the material form. It's asking to work your way backward to the totality of what you are, to the, you might say, turning the awareness away from the mind and the material and the wants and the wishes and the hopes back. You could call it back to the divine spark or back to the totality or back to the total mind, but you're turning it back to yourself. You're turning it back. You're doing work to learn how to reconnect totally with that which you are. Because another word that should work, I think, even more than faith is trust. Trust is the key word. And how could you not trust your deepest self? The problem is the massive disconnect that has happened since long before we even incarnated into a material form. This has been going on through various dimensions, through various levels, through various incarnations, this continuous need to place our trust and our faith on something external. We're not smart enough. We can't figure it out, so we need someone or something else to tell us what to do. And if we are cut off from the source wisdom of our totality, then yeah, we probably do. You know? And the problem is you're unable to test these external sources to prove that they have your best interest at heart, you might say. You're just hopeful that the thing that you're praying to or the thing that you're believing is guiding you through life actually cares about you. And you don't have that. You can't make that verification. And even if at some point in time, well, I had faith and it all worked out and things were great for me and Buddha or Jesus or Elvis or whoever fixed my life. Okay, well, maybe in that one instance, but you're still looking at life through a tiny sliver as opposed to seeing the complete whole. And did that getting you out of one problem actually set up the possibility to have the 7 problems that were coming in the years that follow that. It's a long time to have to unravel. It's why the recapitulation is so important, because you have to keep unraveling these stories, and not just the story individually. What happened in a particular moment of your life when you were 19 years old? It's how did what happened there create the tumbling effect or the movement effect to all the things that happened after that? How did, if that one event didn't happen or went a different way, how would the rest of your life been, or the rest of your life you've had required that event to happen? And depending how you like your life will depend a lot on how you should look back on the end result of all of these life experiences. That's why the life recapitulation is in some ways a continuous process, because as you live, as you get more understanding of how your life has unfolded, how the story of your life has unfolded here in this dream state, these key moments of your past reveal themselves more and more. Like, were they really moving you in a good direction? Maybe some of them were. Were they really moving in a bad direction? I guarantee you some of them were. Where was that force coming from? How often in these key moments was the message coming, and you knew that message was coming from your deepest self, that the message was from you, that there was no external force, there was no implantation of ideas, there was no, it was yours, it was all yours. I think back to Mr. Park. I was with him when the 7/11 occurred. What was that, 24 years ago now? And I remember on that day, a lot of people were really, really afraid that World War III had started and that they were soon everyone was going to be dead. And they had come to him and they said, what should we do? I mean, I've told there's 2 stories of what he told us, 2 different groups of people, but the same. The first message, when they came, what do we do? He just said exercise, meaning like it doesn't matter if whatever's going on, positive or negative. Your intention was to be here and to do this work and to do these exercises, so that's what you do. As long as you have the ability to do the exercise, you do the exercise. We're like, yeah, of course. Why would we be doing something else? It doesn't matter what the world's going to do. We made a choice of what we were going to do, so we keep doing it. But more to our point here, another group that came and sort of said something similar, like, what are we going to do when the world starts blowing up? And he just said very simply, he said, if you're truly connected to the spirit, and by the spirit, he doesn't mean some external force. He means that which you are. If you're truly connected to your spirit and a challenging moment like that occurs, that spirit will just tell you what to do. And then your only job is to just follow it and do what it's told you. Because again, this idea of trust, if you are actually in connection with your deepest, truest self, I don't like to use the word self because it's not really a self, right? It's an intersection point into nothingness, but it's for using language, right? That's the greatest thing you can ever trust. And so the questions has to start to be coming, well, then how do you begin the process of being able to ascertain when a message comes up, how do I know that's something from this true thing of this true totality of what I am compared to all of the possible manifestations of mind and beliefs and ideas and wishes and fears and hopes and external implants and archonic messages and wavelengths in the universe that is meant to suck us into. How can you begin to indicate that you've tapped into that source? Because that's when faith truly manifests. Like the first faith you have to have is not a faith in that you have access to something and it can tell you what to do. All you can do is have faith in that you have the ability and the tools to find it. That's the first level of faith. First level of faith is that you have the ability and the tools to get to that, to track to that level of your true self. And again, that's a lot of St. John of the Cross's first part of his work. And that's designed to dissolve the regular mind, to dissolve the desires and the temptations and the wishes and the fears and all of that. That's what all that's really doing is tracking away where awareness is normally focused, external, or on the wishes of the and fears of the self, and it's beginning to literally drop those to not complete zero, but very, very low, so that a doorway to awareness being able to turn around and actually interact with that which it truly is can start to happen. And once that is connected to, and once it's believed that has occurred, you've got access to this deepest totality. I mean, you've got access to the divine, to your divine spark. If the divine spark gives you a message, it must be a good message at that point. But there are so many false filters. There are so many lies that are covering that over, things that seem like they're giving you good information. They're giving you a good message. They're giving you a good idea. Or even if something is sneaking in from this deeper source, because the filters are still there, it's not coming through clean. You're getting like a garbled message. You're getting like if the phone line kind of cracks a bit because somebody goes through a tunnel or something while they're talking to you, and you get like 5 of the 40 words they say, you kind of get an idea, but not really. And you could, if they were giving you directions to something and that's all you got, it's highly likely you're going to get lost, because even though you think you know where you're going, you trust that you kind of got the message, but you probably didn't. It was something that got garbled, that got missed, that got distorted. And that's what's happening constantly, is that even when messages are coming through, they're garbled and distorted. And then, of course, there's the messages that are designed to specifically lead you into difficult places, lead you into problems. So true faith is what is meant by faith mind in the Faith Mind Sutra. It's faith mind. It's not faith of the mind. It's a faith mind. And a faith mind means true mind. That when true mind is accessible, or let's just say any moment, because it'll be a long time potentially for anybody who's in a space of constant and continuous true mind. But let's say you've done a ton of work and you're able to access true mind for 20 minutes a day. Great. That means you have 20 minutes a day of actual faith, because if a message comes during the 20 minutes, then it's got to be a valid message. And it means then all the messages that come in the 23 hours and 40 minutes other than that 20 minutes are all to be very carefully questioned. That doesn't mean they're bad or wrong or useless or should be ignored. It just means they all then need to be examined very carefully, because you can't have total faith in them. You can't have total trust in them. You can't surrender to it because you're not certain where it comes from. Anything that comes from an external source, you can never fully trust. No matter how highly you place that source above you in some form, you still can't trust it because it's not you. Right? That's why I tell people in all of my every interview I think that I do, I'm just giving you my opinion. I'm just sharing you my life experience. I'm sharing with you what happened to me to see if that has any value to you. You shouldn't trust me, and you shouldn't have faith in me because you can't verify for totality that I know what the hell I'm talking about. Even this about faith sounds really good, but you could only verify this if this sounds interesting by tracking it in your own experience, by, in essence, doing a science experiment on yourself, doing an alchemical transformative process on yourself, and see if in 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever, that it occurs one way or another. Or that some deeper understanding starts to come that says, I kind of get a sense what faith is, because I can only describe it in my own terms. But that doesn't mean that's, even if I'm 100% correct, let's just, for the sake of argument, let's just pretend I'm 100% correct. Probably not, but let's just pretend I am. That still doesn't mean that even if it's 100% correct for me in this particular form, in this particular package of presentation, that would be the 100% proper package of information for you. It has to be shaped and modified to your own background, your own experiences, your own thought patterns, your own egoic structures, your own everything, your own way of living. The understanding has to be shaped and become unique for you. How one interacts with this faith mind would not be the same. The faith mind itself would be the same, right? The same faith mind would be universal. It's only one totality, right? There's only one nothingness. There's only one emptiness. But the access point from all of the different creatures, from all of the different individual beings, all the seemingly individual awarenesses within the matrix will access the emptiness a little bit differently, in a slightly different way, and will respond to it in the environment in a slightly different way. So it requires to take ideas and work with them to fit yourself, your own being's experience in this reality. So I'm even the same thing. Like, you can't have, even on a whatever this is, a 20-minute video on what faith is and what faith mind is, you can't have faith and total trust in what I've just told you, because you have to then, how does my own experience verify or not verify that? What are people that I know that might actually be accessing something of a deeper part of themselves, or seem to have an element of, and again, I don't mean they have faith in something external, that dead grandma is fixing their life for them, or, Jesus or Buddha are doing whatever they ask for. And, I don't mean that. I mean, is there somebody who seems to be able to trust? And this faith mind, going back to finish this, the way Mr. Park described this, in any situation, positive or negative, we'll just call it a challenge or an opportunity present. That faith mind, this true totality, can rise up if the blocks and the coverings are gone. The faith mind can come up and share information. They're not telling you what to do. It's sharing information that awareness can then take, transform into potential action in the reality through the character. And it's in a moment-by-moment basis. The only information that is required right now is what's required right now. You don't need the information 3 years in the future. Right now, you don't need it. It's not important. And if something is focusing on 3 years in the future, even if it's valid, useful information, it's of no use right now. That was Mr. Park's point. In any situation, opportunity or challenge was, if you're connected to this, again, what he's calling the spirit, what we're talking about is your totality, it will give you the message. It will give you the piece of information that's required in that moment. And only for that moment, right? You don't need to think about a decision 10 years in the future. You don't need to think about a decision 10 years in the past, but you might have to, and you don't want to necessarily think too hard about the one you have right now. The mind wants to think about it. The faith mind wants to reveal. The faith mind wants to reveal the direction smoothly and easily to you, wants to reveal the decision smoothly and easily. When you do make a decision, no matter what it is, when you do make a decision, the actual moment of the decision making is pretty simple. When you finally make it, it's really easy, isn't it? Really, even if it turns out to be wrong. It was still, that was another question I asked Mr. Park once. I didn't know, again, worst question you can ever ask a spiritual teacher, I asked him. I was having some challenges and I said, I don't know what to do, Mr. Park. What should I do? Turning over my authority to somebody else, right? Bad idea. But his response was very clear and very honest. I'm very thankful for it. And he just said, do anything you want. Just do something. And I said, well, just do something. I said, well, what if it's wrong? And he said, oh, then you'll stop doing that. You'll do something else. Right. Of course. If I'm not doing anything, then I'm not getting any input, any information. I can't either figure out if that choice is actually taking me somewhere or nope, that's not really a good choice. So I'll stop and do something else, right? The whole point was you've got to start doing something. You've got to take action. You can't think about it. You've got to do it. So his point was valid again. Um, I know I brought him up a few times, but I'm just so thankful for those meetings with him. 25, 26, 27 years ago, the years that I had interactions with him, they still are giving tremendous fruit. And, um, again, he was just giving pointers of how to go within. He was just giving pointers to go, how we could go find the answers for ourselves. He didn't give us many answers. He gave us a lot more questions. He gave us a lot more things to try to make us think. But it was really designed to say, like, you've got the answer. You just need to find the right question. Once you've got the right question, you'll know exactly how to get the answer. And all of that links to this idea of what faith really is, what trust really is, what surrender really is. So I thought that was, for some reason, at this moment, this was the right thing to come out and talk to you guys about. And so I did. Well, here you go. I hope this has some value to some people to contemplate, think about, see what may or may not be valid in your own experience. Maybe none of it's valid. So if it is, just forget everything I've said. If it is, have some valid, great. Move it, test it out. I'm still over mostly on my locals channel. That's still going fairly strong. We still do book reviews and some other book reviews, book, what do you call them? Book conversations, where we take out a book and we share our views on it. We still do that once a month, and usually once a month over there, I have a discussion on some other topic. Like I say now, I'm putting together a new project, and but it's not going to be easy. It's a lot of research required and a lot of thinking, so it's going to keep me busy for quite a while. So again, it might be another 3 or 4 months before I'm back here when I feel I've got some space and I can just come and say something here. But you're more than welcome to drop by the locals and see how that's going. Other than that, I wish everybody well. Wish you're having, if you're in the northern hemisphere, a decent summer. If you're in the southern hemisphere, some reaping of whatever harvest you put in last summer, and to just be prepared mentally, but not afraid of the future either, but just prepared that the more you are in touch with your true essence, the more that information will come in any moment if it's required in a particular situation. Have yourself a good one. And like I say, we'll see you again in a few months. Cheers.